Blue Storm Dragon Maelstrom is an obscure deck that doesn't get a lot of attention but is one of the few encounter decks of Stoicheia. Introducing the old Aqua Force playstyle, we are reviving Maelstrom with its new promo support, as well as some good cards that we can actually take advantage of from the most recent set of Cardfight Vanguard, as well as my personal experience with the deck. I think that Maelstrom is another solid C tier deck. It's good, it knows what it wants to do, and it has the pieces for its strategy, but it does have some key flaws in it that unfortunately are holding it back in the current metagame. With the next season of Vanguard coming out and the reveals from Cardfight Vanguard Divine Z being showcased in a couple of weeks sometime from now, hopefully we'll see more solid support for the Stoicheia Nation that can take this deck to the next level. And speaking of taking things to the next level, if you enjoy seeing content like this, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Do not forget the notification bell so you guys are always up to date on my newest videos coming out. And to add on to that, for my membership only people that are watching this, you guys are going to get some extra card choices, tips and tricks revealed, how to play this deck and operate it better moving forward into the 2024 season. Also, I do have my Google Docs open up for this deck so that you guys are allowed, only you guys are allowed to see all of my knowledge, information on this deck from my prior playtesting with it while watching this deck profile. So when you play this deck, if you have any questions or any thoughts or concerns or want to know some more tips and tricks on how to perform Maelstrom, check that Google Doc out in the membership only page so that guys can take a look at all of the knowledge I've gathered from Maelstrom in this video. Alright you guys, get the deck profile started off with, I am still playing the Maelstrom ride line for Blue Storm Dragon Maelstrom. I think that for Blue Storm Dragon Maelstrom, there isn't really any space to adapt or change the ride line, especially with the new 50 card deck rule. You need to find one copy of the order with Theo, you need to find a unit that you can target with Algos, and just compress your deck more. If you go second, you get to compress your deck out by 3 cards thanks to all of these guys, and I think that's very important for this deck. Starting off with grade 3s, I am showcasing the Man of the Hour, my favorite Stoicheia unit right now, which is 3 copies of Blue Storm Dragon Maelstrom. Now, I've been rocking out with Maelstrom ever since my last deck profile on it, and I have to say that with more time, I've learned that Maelstrom is a deck that I think right now is very underrated. The key issue with Maelstrom right now is mainly just power. I think that power holds this deck back a lot because without Persona Writing, without Tideline Dragon, and the effect of your order as well as the effect of some of your units, sometimes Maelstrom's numbers just don't end up being as good as they possibly could be. But unfortunately, you have no choice because you don't have the stuff needed to make his numbers power up. And we don't have enough Aqua Force units or Tier Dragon cards that can apply powers to stuff outside of Persona Writing into this and your Tideline Dragon. Moving on to my next grade 3, I play 4 copies of Blue Artillery Dragon Inlet Pulse Dragon. This card has been a Stoicheia staple ever since its introduction, and this deck is no different. Being a grade 3 that can convert itself into soul, it will turn it into a target for Maelstrom to use into the next turn for the restanding effect. On top of that, it gives you a soul charge as well and the draw, which is very important because it helps keep Maelstrom's hand healthy on top of the additional draw effect from Maelstrom. This deck does want you to play with a full board because you're swapping your units from the left and right column as well as swapping sometimes between the center and your other rear guards and other abilities. So being able to exchange this out and convert it to another draw to make it for the card you call out from hand, a fantastic support piece. For my next grade 3, I'm playing 4 copies of the Order Judgment Maelstrom. Now, Judgment Maelstrom is the set order for the Aqua Force strategy, and this order gives you additional recall from the drop zone when you play it, and then if you have another copy, it gives you additional 5,000 power to one of your units based off every other copy you have in the order zone. I have a love-hate relationship with this card. I love what the card does on paper. You know, you set it in the order zone, you get a body back on board, and you get to give something 5k. So at the minimum, that card will become 18k or 15k or 13k attacker, whatever it may be. But I just don't like the way it's worded. First off, I don't understand why this card is a grade 3. It needed to be a grade 2 to be good because then you can start setting up early to use the other effect. On top of that, the other effect is awkward because the first turn where you really want to like push hard with Maelstrom, because unless Maelstrom hits Persona Ride every other turn, the deck starts losing its aggression. If you can't keep doing that, this card is just, it doesn't give you the 5k until you have another one set up. So what Maelstrom needs right now instead of this is a grade 2 card that counts itself as this, but lets you use it set up early, which would be way better with the Algos, because then you can search the grade 2 out No, it'd be way better with the Theo, because then you could search the grade 2 out and then play all of these and then get all your other effects going, and then you could still commit the same amount of orders without putting more dead cards into your deck. And for my final grade 3, I'm playing one copy of Gradius Grottle. Gradius Grottle is the 4th copy of the Persona Ride. As I stated earlier with Maelstrom, Maelstrom needs Persona Ride. This deck without Persona Ride every single turn period afterwards will just start losing its tempo. So Gradius Grottle is very helpful for that. For my next grade 2, I'm playing 4 copies of the Flow Strike Brave Shooter. This card is a mandatory 4 of in the deck. Flow Strike Brave Shooter, I put him into the deck and I maxed him out at 4 because I realized how important it was, because this card is the key piece needed to get your offense going no matter what. Now, Flow Strike Brave Shooter is able to counterblast 1 and swap a column with the card anywhere on the board, and it gets 5k per every one of these you have. Hence the reason why I'm playing 4 of these, because 2 makes it 20 and then 3 makes it 15, which will be a match number on its own. I'm playing 3 copies of Spurring Maiden Alenia. Now, here's the thing. I play a couple of cards in this deck that are not targetable by my Ride Line or by Judgment Maelstrom, and it's very important I get those bodies back. Alenia ended up making her way into my deck because I realized that there was no way of recurring this card. This card is the focal point of your strategy with Maelstrom. It is how you get your 5 attacks going on first Maelstrom turn, get your 6 attacks going. It is not searchable, and this card just becomes 3 more copies of it. Like, this card is incredible. It's so good for the deck that I had to play more cards in the deck that actually get you to do what you want to do. And I'm gonna go ahead and showcase this right away because this is the most exciting card I want to talk about, but this is a card I don't see Maelstrom players using, but I actually think they're sleeping on it. I am playing 3 copies of Tsunami Brave Shooter. Now, I know a lot of people don't know what this does, but let me explain. So Tsunami Brave Shooter is a grade 2 common from Minerva Rising with the following effect. It states, continuous rearguard circle. During your turn, if you have another grade 2 or greater unit in the same column as this unit gets power plus 5,000. So you guys might be wondering, what's so special about this card? Well, here's the thing. After playing Maelstrom for basically months at this point since its introduction and introducing Flow Strike into the deck, I learned that your deck needs as much power as it could possibly get, as I've already discussed with Maelstrom and the important Persona rating, and this card does that for you. Because Flow Strike is the cornerstone of all of our attack patterns now, besides Wheel Assault and another card that we play a deck and Maelstrom's ability, you're always going to have a grade 2 in the left or right column. So putting Tsunami behind Flow Strike means that this is 15 and this is 15. So if your opponent's at grade 2 and you're doing your combo, this is a magic number because it requires 10k, this is a magic number because it requires 10k. And then in the late game, when you're doing Persona Ride, this card becomes 25k over 23. So that's a magic number right there. Boom, 15k guard, right? Like, it's a free power-up card that fits your attack pattern so well, it doesn't have any awkward gimmicks around it. For my next grade 2, and basically a staple at this point, 2 copies of Tideline Dragon. Now, I've already discussed the importance of Persona Riding in Maelstrom, but Tideline Dragon makes your Persona Ride turns a lot better. It's a tier dragon as well, which means you can superior call it off of the Judgment Maelstrom. On the late games, when you're finally going into your Maelstrom turn, you'll have a target for the effect that you actually care about. But Tideline giving 10k to itself and another unit means that any of your multi-attacking units or the unit that has the multi-attack effect from Maelstrom, you can turn that card into a magic number, which makes the restanding off that card a lot better, especially when you're swapping your columns out with something like Flow Strike Brave Shooter or another card later in the match. And another card that made it in thanks to the 50 card cut, it made its way back into the deck. We are playing 2 copies of Tidal Assault. Now, I already discussed the importance of Flow Strike Brave Shooter, but because the deck is 50 cards, there is a chance we won't open up with it or draw into it. But this card is so good, I basically played its other version, which is the Tidal Assault. Now, Tidal Assault essentially serves the same purpose as Flow Strike, but the key difference here is the fact that unlike Flow Strike, this one restands, so therefore it does change your attack patterns and the placement of your Wheel Assault depending on how your battle formation is going. If you have Tidal Assault, you know, on the rear guard and you're doing your stuff, you can go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then use the Wheel Assault and swap to go 5 to protect it. Or sometimes you can go 1, 2, 3, and then if you have the Maelstrom effect live, this will be restanding, so this will be 4, this will be 5. If you have this together, you can swap it out, and then you have essentially 7 attacks going. Tidal Assault in the plays where you have like 3 CB open and you're able to Persona Ride and like try to go for game. This card opens you up to 7 attacks for, you know, that final turn play. If you have 3 CB though. On top of that, the Soul Blast 1 effect for the Maelstrom skill, it never comes up, guys. I'm just going to be honest here. You have to spend Soul on too many other important things in this deck, like the Elenias when you bring this back, the Tide Line when you're on Persona Ride turns. The first effect rarely ever happens. If you have like the extra Soul or you're trying to go for that final turn, then you might use it, but you don't have to worry about that skill. Moving on to grade 1s, I'm playing 4 copies of the Stoicheia Sentinel. And then I'm playing 4 copies of the MVP of this deck. It is 4 copies of Wheel Assault. Wheel Assault is a mandatory 4 of a Maelstrom. You have to play 4 of it. This is how you are getting your 6 attacks off, especially now that we're playing Tidal Assault back into the deck. Mandatory 4 of. Thanks to Wheel Assault, you're able to, you know, swap out attack patterns, reach the 4 attack threshold for Maelstrom. The great thing about it is the fact that because you play cards like Tsunami, Brave Shooter, and Tideline, it makes attacking fun because you can, you know, swing at your opponent with the high stuff first, make them drop more cards to guard, and swing at the opponent with low stuff. But it's low enough to where it still hits magic numbers, but because they already used the high value shield to get rid of it, they have to start throwing other cards at your opponent. You're always going to use this card as a booster behind your Vanguard or throw it away as an attacker in the early game. Now, moving on to triggers. Trigger-wise, I don't think it's changed since my last deck profile, but I'm playing 4 copies of the generic heals. I'm playing 4 of the draw triggers, and then I play a total of 7 crit, 1 of the Stoicheia OT, and then 4 of the effect criticals. I want to say in this deck profile, I think you guys should start taking the effect criticals. Prison is a real deck, and when your soul is like all over the place in a deck like this where it cannot afford to expel its resources to other places because we're not playing cards that benefit our resource management anymore. I think these cards, you guys should start putting these back into your deck because Prison is a real deck. But that's my take on Maelstrom, guys. Tell me your thoughts about it in the comment section below. And what do you guys think about this going into January 2024? I've been playing this deck for a couple of months now. I've taken notes on it. Membership only information. So if you guys want to see my notes on Maelstrom, definitely check that out. And let me know what you guys think about it in the comment section below. With that being said, I am Prime Vanguard, and I'll catch you later. Peace.